the speaker knockers.
Boonch, Montana. Boonch, Montana. Boonch, Montana. First time on the track. I'll push you back. I said first time on the track.
There are those thumbs. That's what all of our viewers think every week. They're like, there they are.
Yeah, those are the thumbs.
The thumbs from the dream.
I wanted to see how long we would stay silent at the beginning of this, because I like it when we've had this happen a few times where like I've been listening to it on Spotify without the video,
Mhm.
and it's just like a solid 5 seconds of silence, and then one's just like so I like that. I like that kind of opening.
Yeah, after the Boonch, after Boonch, Montana welcomes you
Right.
in, it
Right.
welcomes you into nothing.
Yeah.
we should one week when we're like tired and we can't do it, or like you're traveling or something. We should just release an episode where we do the Boonch intro, and then it's just an hour of silence. So it looks like a regular episode, but then
Yeah.
people don't know if it's a joke unless you listen to the whole thing, because we could do like 15 minutes and then it's like, ha,
Gotcha.
thanks for listening.
Right.
But you need to find out, like you need to listen to all of it, or else
I think it would be fun if we just do like 1 second where we're just like, and then
Yeah.
like you have to find that second. You're gonna be scrolling through the whole time just trying to find it.
We just say the link to the current episode.
Exactly. Yeah. I think who was it? Wolfpack. They did that. They made like it was called Sleepify, and it was supposed to like
heard of this.
Yeah, it's supposed to like screw over Spotify, and it was just a completely like silent album, and they asked their fans to just have it on while they slept, so it wasn't like disturbing them, but they would get the streams for it.
Yeah, it sounds sleazy, but I mean, if people did it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it's not like Spotify is going to go bankrupt.
Yeah. So speaking of money, I almost forgot what we were doing. I was like, here we go again. No, but yes, we have an interview today.
Indeed.
With should I
I think it would make sense if you did.
But his name is Natali. He was my personal finance professor. He's just a super nice guy. Class was very fun with him. And yeah, he was one of my former personal finance professors, and so I thought it would be fun to interview him about his job and the state of finance, just because as like our audience, I think it would be nice to have some financial stuff rather than not just financial stuff, but like something educational here, like we're not a very cultured podcast yet, so I'm trying to bring in some education. So I was going to ask you, what knowledge do you have about personal finance?
Oh, none.
You have to have something. Come on, we got to start with a basic.
I mean, I like have money, so there's that. I have
finance, and it is personal.
Right. I am a person who has money, personal finance. But no, I have like accounts and things. I know very little, and also I mean that's a very broad topic. It's like, what do you know about music? It's like where do I start?
Do
I even know what I know? So I name some topics, and I'll give a thumbs up or thumbs down on that.
How about this? How about we get some general feelers about personal finance, like broad-based questions at the beginning?
Yeah.
what would you say is the goal of learning about personal finance?
Um, I do think it is not one of those things where it's like learning for the sake of learning,
Mm.
which I think is okay. It's very much about being able to survive and be happy and secure throughout life.
Nice. So a means to an end.
Certainly, not
An
an end in
existing.
itself.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's get all Kantian here. Um, could we treat people as means?
Can we treat Gene Natalie as a means to an end? That's so mean. I didn't. That's so horrible. He's so nice.
No, but we're I don't think we are.
No.
Okay.
Now I had a question.
Yeah, you asked me a question. We alternate here.
This is different though. Is that okay?
And it's a question, and it's you're doing it instead of me, so
Yeah,
it's fine.
when you were in class with him,
Mhm.
what did you call him?
I don't know it because he preferred to be called Gene. A lot of the people called him Gene.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's always been weird for me. Like,
Yeah, me too.
and I know that they want that. You know what I mean? Like they want to be called that, or else they wouldn't, or else they would say something, or yeah, they wouldn't say to call them that. So like it, but the relationship just feels like it requires some sense of respect in a nomenclature form, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would probably go back and forth between Professor Natalie, Gene, and Professor. So
Yeah.
like
Mr. Gene.
Mr. Professor Gene.
Senior Gene.
Not that one.
No, not that one.
Never that one.
No, but I was going to say he definitely seems like the kind of professor who would say, "Call me Gene,"
Mhm.
and not like, "If you don't say professor in front of my name, I'll hit you."
Mhm.
So that, and I've had very much the same experience where, like, my logic professor this semester, I had her last semester for a different class, and her name is Vera Flocka. And she was like, "You can call me Vera," and I was like, "This is weird. I don't want to do that." And so last semester I would always call her, Professor Flocka, and or just be like, "Hi," and like not include a name.
Mhm.
But this semester I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable and have been calling her Vera a little bit more, but not in person. Only over email have I found myself comfortable with it. That's what I have to say about that. But I do think, sorry, I'm getting so off topic and not introducing Gene Natalie, but
No,
but
I think this is good. Yeah, keep going.
yeah, but I do think it's interesting because you're right. There should be some respect, between student
Put on
and
his
teacher.
name. Mhm.
Right. But also, I do feel like it's sort of throwing you in the deep end of adulthood where suddenly you call adults by their first names
Mhm.
and not like dad or Mr. Zonizer,
Mhm.
And so I do think, that there's not really a good way of easing into that.
Mhm.
So maybe that's actually a very nice and respectful thing from them to us, to help us out with that.
Mhm. And yeah, I think getting back to Gene Natalie,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that he wants us to call him by his first name because this is a little bit about him. He didn't set out to be a professor, I don't think. He definitely didn't. So like he had a master's degree in finance, but he wrote a book about personal finance that the University of Pittsburgh wanted him to teach, like have that be the core like book for the class and the subject of the class. So it's almost like he's kind of doing this as a favor to spread the knowledge more than he's been wanting to be a professor his whole life and like did a PhD and put his life and soul into it, right? So I don't know. It makes it more like a friend type of dynamic in that sense because he just wants to help out, which is why would suspect that he would want or be able to do this because he likes sharing information and and is not as I don't know, not stuffy as professors, but like
Right.
you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. No,
like
it's
stuffed like a Build-A-Bear, like not like
right,
that.
right. He's not full of cotton.
No, no.
But no, I think you're absolutely right, and it definitely does, as people will see in the interview, definitely, is reflected in his sort of overall vibe that he's, everything he's written about in the book is not, one of the big things that he said is like, this is not some sort of like secret, there's no secret key to understanding finance. Like anybody can understand this. And so it's not like, some of the more stuffed professors saying like, I'm going to let you in on this little area of academia, but you wouldn't be able to do it by yourself. You wouldn't be able to understand this without me and my experience and knowledge. And to a certain extent, I'm sure that's absolutely true with some of my professors and some of my like the subjects that we've studied. But so not to insult those professors, but Professor Gene Natali, all about sort of, we're all in the same playing field here, level of the whatever. Here's knowledge that I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
I think
right.
that's a good introduction. And now we're going to transition to the interview. We'll be wearing completely different clothes.
Indeed.
It was a different time.
It was.
All right. Bye-bye. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're live. We're here with our first non-familiar friend guest, my personal finance professor from last semester. He is the co-founder and CEO of Troutwood, author of The Missing Semester, The Missing Second Semester, and according to Amazon, The List: A Christmas Story. Gene Natali, how are you?
David, great to see you again. The list was a fun one for my kids, but thank you for the reference.
Yeah, I didn't know about that when I was taking your class, so I thought I'd put it out there. Yeah, so I did a short introduction, but can you sort of explain who you are, what you do, and yeah, just who is Professor Natali?
Absolutely. So, David, you and I met at the University of Pittsburgh, where I teach a personal finance class. It's a one credit course. It's a fun course. I've been teaching it for 6 years now, and kudos to the university for offering it. One of the challenges is the class is limited to 40 students on a campus of 20,000. So that's an issue we have to solve. The path that led me there, I went to Allegheny College for undergrad, Carnegie Mellon University for grad school. Spent 16 years, almost 17, working in the institutional investment industry, working with some of the largest investors in retirement plans, candidly, in the world. And the subset of those experiences ultimately led to Troutwood. We're a fintech company founded out of the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon.
Awesome. Yeah, that's I remember that backstory. I just wanted other people to hear it. But yeah, Henry has our first question here.
I do. So I I did I think a fair amount of research, and I wanted to sort of not go for those mamby-pamby sort of whatever, just filler questions. So I want to go right in. Because I listened to some of your past podcast experiences. So one of the things I know about you is that you started your Roth IRA when you were 16 years old, correct?
That is correct, Henry.
All right. Yeah. I'm trying to freak you out with how much I know. But what sort of precipitated that decision?
Boy, I wish I knew. So I've always been cursed with a work ethic. At the age of 12 is when I first started caddying. And I forget at that age if it was because my parents forced me or I wanted to. So I can't take full ownership for, wanting to work that hard at the age of 12. At the age of 15, started lifeguarding. So then I was kind of dual employed. And then 16 began coaching swimming and had the capital to start that Roth IRA, which I did. And I to this day wish I could remember who said, Gene, you got to start a Roth IRA. I opened it at Vanguard and I maxed it out pretty regularly starting at that time. So it was the best financial decision that I have personally made.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's really cool. And I like that idea of, like I think there have been definitely times in my life where it's like, I don't know how I got here exactly. I don't know, I don't remember saying to myself, I'm going to do this now. I can definitely see how other people telling me to do things, have gotten me to a certain place. So I think that's cool.
And Henry, one thing that's definitely worth sharing to any non-finance or non kind of math minds listening in, the cool thing about a Roth IRA is the money's all yours. So you don't have to do math like other investment accounts where there's a capital gains tax, or even a 401k is taxed as you start to pool that money later in life. The Roth IRA, the money is all yours. So the math is quite easy to do when you look at your account.
Nice. That is very good to know. I think as you'll soon figure out, I am very much a financial layman, and I'm excited to learn this morning. So,
yeah, Roth is actually Italian for "it's all mine." So,
David, that's a great fact.
It's not true to anybody who wasn't aware. So yeah, in your LinkedIn bio, it's not only says that you're a personal finance educator, which you are, but it also has the Spanish version, Educación Financiera. Is there a story behind that, or is that just trying to speak to the increasing importance of learning more languages in order to alleviate or be better at business and commerce with people speaking different languages?
No, so that is a Spanish translation of the missing semester written specifically for students in Uruguay. And the way that came about is I'm a CFA charter holder in the board of the CFA Society here in Pittsburgh, and also a member of a global group of charter holders who are trying to create global advocacy in the financial literacy conversation. One of our board members resides in Uruguay, and she and I had come up, she had said there's no books like this in our country, it would be the first. So we collaborated. Penguin Random House published the book in Uruguay. Barbara Mainzer is her name. She is just absolutely excellent to work with, is a star down in Uruguay, and the book is being extremely well received.
That's amazing.
Wonderful.
Well, it's an interesting that it's the one lesson I learned doing that is we are very fortunate here in the States to be able to have our debates in our coffee shops in Uruguay. This really is it's a big deal that they now have access to a book and knowledge like this.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's really cool. So I want to go back a second. You talked about your time as a lifeguard and then a swim coach. I think it was from when you were like 15, 16 to about when you were 25, if I listened to that other podcast correctly. Can you talk about, is there something or can you talk about your experience doing that, but also if there are things that you learned in that time period that have carried over into your work today, either something you still use or just something you still do, even maybe not in your work, but just in your personal life, how that job affected you?
Absolutely. So you have the age there, right? And that's because my first job out of college was non-salary sales, and institutional sales take a while to develop. So I had to have some money on the side. So I lifeguarded and was also head coach of a USS swim club, which was actually my passion in life at that time. I waited to turn in my acceptance to Carnegie Mellon until I think 11:59, the day before it was due, because I was contemplating going, full-time head coach swimming, just with how much I loved that, and I'd coached some of those kids from the age of 16 until then. Lessons learned again are the value of work ethic, and when you love something, it's not really work. Because coaching wasn't work for me. Technically it was because I got paid, but I didn't consider it work because I cared so much about the swimmers and just enjoyed being at the pool so much. So I was able to look for that blend of things that you enjoy, but that also will help to pay the bills as I progressed from that point. So I would say that is possible. I do have a statement in the missing semester that says any job is better than no job. And that's important to point out, because had I not taken on those side hustles, the non-salary sales job wouldn't have paid the bills.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I wonder, is there, because, now you're a teacher and a financial educator, are there any similarities in the, in the joy you might have found coaching young kids with swimming, with, maybe any of the joy you find teaching finance?
So I won't put David on the spot of giving an opinion to that question, but I have been approached by students who said, do you teach to get paid, or do you really just love it that much? And the reality is I love it that much. We don't get paid that much. I think that teaching is one of the greatest honors that you can bestow on someone. I consider it a privilege to be in that classroom with the opportunity to at least share knowledge and let students, make decisions based on those, the subset of my experiences and knowledge. So teaching is a giant honor. Henry, I thought just, maybe jumping back to your first question, another lesson that I learned, and I think that is extremely important for people to take away. I early on in my life identified 5 role models. Like late college years, I did this, and they were people that I respected for various attributes. And those 5 role models were instrumental in the shaping of my early kind of life and career. And I say that because I've heard that from mentors today too, that the confidence to approach someone and say, hey, can we grab a cup of coffee? And not just for a job, but to say, I just want to learn from your life. And when I say role models, I don't mean like star CEOs. I'm talking about someone who was really good at their day job, but boy, they didn't miss one of their kids' events. Nothing came before family. So I admired the work-life balance. For some individuals, I imagined, one was an Ironman triathlete, and that was something I admired to be one day. I said, boy, I admire that he has the discipline to train at these hours of the morning. So I think that concept of role models is something that's really impactful and can start in the college years and just after.
Wow. I think that's really cool. David, I don't want to keep, talking if you have other questions, but I'm fascinated by this. So I like this idea of role models, and I do think so many times we hear networking. It's all about meeting the right people so that you can get this job and know these other people and blah 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 blah. But I like the idea of not it's not all about the money. It's not all about the jobs. It's about learning how these people have lived their lives, and if that's something that I don't know, I don't really have a question. I just think that's a really cool idea, and definitely something I want to do more, and yeah. Anyway, David, do you have other questions?
But Henry, I like the direction you were going there, because I see this firsthand student. Like I'll give a data point from teaching. In 6 years of teaching and teaching personal finance, where my students build a plan for life after school, I have only seen one student obtain a higher salary than they modeled for, because the data that's out there, we shoot. That's how we think financially. To build mentors around things other than monetary goals is a big deal. A book that shaped my thinking on that was Napoleon's Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And he talks about if the experience is worth it, work it for free. And in his exam in the book, he said, I took a job for $1. I begged to get this job for $1 because the experience that he viewed himself as getting was priceless versus any salary. So I think mentors are hugely impactful, and I still have them today. I like the direction you took. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, I remember that being an important part of the class, that money is a means to an end, effectively, and that you need some sort of way to guide what is important to do with the money. And sometimes you don't need money to do the things that are important, like being at your kids' soccer game as I cannot relate to, but there's many other examples like that. And I kind of wanted to go back to that idea of side hustles because a lot of our viewers are young. Some of my questions kind of go off of that. And one of the things I think young people are starting to experience more and more of is the shift away from like a singular career path that you do until you're 65 and then you retire. It seems to be now that a lot of jobs that you're going to have don't exist yet, or you're going to have multiple sort of side hustles. I don't really have a direct question to this, but it seems like you benefited from the idea of side hustles. Would you recommend that people try and stick with one main thing, or try to explore a bunch of different things and create side hustles around those?
Both. And let me kind of elaborate there. I think, personal opinion, but one of the resumes that least excites me when I receive it is the individual who job hops every year. From maybe their standpoint, they're saying, boy, but I've got all these experiences. From my standpoint, running a company, how do I know you're going to be there past a year if I make this investment in you? So I think there is a fine line between too much job hopping, gaining experiences, and but also not saying I'm going to be doing this for 65 years. So there's a balance. For instance, I'm in started Troutwood. I'm still in technically the finance industry, but have swapped companies. So that to answer the question, both for sure. The concept of side hustle is one that I think also at a young age is the best time to do it. So in addition to the, working 3 jobs, non-salary sales, managing a pool, coaching until 25, from 25, then 24, 25, 26, I was at Carnegie Mellon, but I worked full time and went to school in the evening. And then I immediately went to working full time and pursuing the CFA designation. Those are the best times to do that. And I'll age myself to your younger audience. Right now, my wife and I have 4 kids, 6, 7, 9, and 10. And holy cow, our nights and weekends hard. It would be almost impossible for me to do those things that I did then now, and be engaged as a father and be where they need to be. So it's just the best time in your life to do it, both from a personal standpoint, but also financially, get a head start.
Yeah. And going off of that, so you've clearly benefited from much university education, as your sort of CFA and other accolades can attest to. But do you think that now, because you went to college, I mean, even 10 years ago, it was a different landscape. Do you think that college now is still a worthwhile investment, something that people should still consider looking into? Are there any stipulations? What do you think about college?
I love that question is what I think. So I have a pretty strong opinion that college will change because the pricing model isn't consistent with the benefit model. So when I look at my own four kids and I model the increased price of tuition versus the stagnant income, I'm rounding down a little bit on the stagnant incomes comment. Obviously, depending on the field, salaries are rising, but not in line with the cost of college. That's an opportunity to disrupt. And I speculate there are organizations across the world looking to do just that, where you replicate the good parts of the college atmosphere, the social experiment, the conversations, the ability to form relationships, the academic knowledge. That is all really powerful. For me, it is as simple as, is it worth paying for? And I'll be candid saying no. I think that the cost has to come down. And I think that you're starting to see more of that in general education, which is, I think, very healthy and very good. It used to matter a ton to have that college degree, and it still does matter. I mean, I make full disclosure there, but particularly in areas like technology, there's 18-year-olds that know more than master students. So why would that 18-year-old delay their working life for 6 years to to get an education they already have. And I think we're in the early stages of being able to answer that question and what it means.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's interesting. I was going to say, I think the statement that the price needs to come down is probably going to be very popular with our audience. But I also wanted to say, you know, I think I don't know. I remember going on college tours, and there were all these different things that they had set up to try and, you know, be as attractive as possible. And I remember, you know, I don't remember which school it was, but one of them was like, we have, you know, a Ben and Jerry's vending machine, you know, here, and we have free massage chairs, you know, in the student union and all this sort of stuff. And I was like, I don't want any of that, you know, like that's, so I think I like this idea of sort of cutting the fat, as it were, and getting down to, you know, what is actually really important about college as far as personal development, outside of just having the degree so you can get the job, you know. So it's yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't have a question about that. Apparently I just thought I'd throw in my 2 cents.
Well, Henry, I'm curious, Henry and David, is your opinion different than mine on that, having just graduated?
No, absolutely not. I think yeah, I think it is pretty overpriced, and like Henry said, it's overpriced, and that extra increase in tuition and other expenses are going to things that are not even close to necessary for an educational experience or valuable collegiate experience. So yeah, it just seems like an inflated price for something that people aren't really able to take even the full advantage of, because there are so many benefits included in the price that it seems foolhardy. But yeah, I graduated, but Henry has not yet graduated. He's technically still in college, so maybe his opinion is different.
I mean, I've had an interesting college experience. I started out majoring in music, and switched, I think, 2 semesters ago now to political science and philosophy. And both, you know, it's a situation where I'm, you know, I'm not sure. Well, actually, that's not true. Music is, I think, like you said, like with technology, like if you're good enough at it, you don't need a degree, you know. But if, you know, but a lot of it is just having the time. You know, we hear about people going for their masters and then going for a performance diploma and all this sort of stuff, just so they're still in school, still grinding away, still perfecting their craft. So I can understand that idea. I think it obviously depends on the, you know, the subject that you're studying, but yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I think there's a lot of value in college that is not unique to college. You know, I think like that idea of having those conversations, forming those relationships, just getting that knowledge in general is really important, but not, you know, college doesn't have a monopoly on those I don't know, on those opportunities. So that's what I would say about that, I guess.
Like that Goodwill Hunting quote, where you spent 150 grand on an education you could have gotten for $1.50 in late fees at the public library. Yeah. that sort of idea.
Well, and the path is different for everyone. Because I think that was a good dialogue. You know, a fun future episode for maybe the two of you to cover is what would happen if, as opposed to a slow disruption, the model changed next fall.
Oh man.
Would there be a blink, or would we fill the academic voids? Would we immediately just step into, you know, working careers and learn on the fly?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think it would be a lot of us speculating about things that I personally know very little about, but that does seem to be our brand in general. So that would be okay.
And I think after the past year, having everything change within the blink of an eye is, let's say, a chilling thought for us to have again. But yeah, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We're sort of near the end. Henry might have one last question for us, and then we can sort of head out.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I feel like a lot of times these sort of interviews, again, I am the most, well, I'm not the most, but one of the I think the most financially illiterate of the three of us, certainly. But I feel like a lot of times we end these interviews and someone like me would say to someone like you, explain your work to me like I'm 7 years old and I don't know anything. I like to do the opposite with people and say, could you explain your work to me as impressively as possible with all of the jargon as if I am just the most experienced financial guru in the world?
Mhm. Boy, that changed my answer halfway through, Henry.
Yeah, I like to switch it up on people. Yeah.
My answer to when I thought you were going to ask was, it's easier than you think. I do want listeners to know that the path to financial independence is easier than you think. The industry doesn't have this crystal ball that gives them magic opinions or knowledge that you and David and I can't get. So it's easier than you think. Second kind of statement is, but you can't get rich quick either. So there's the downer. So slow, steady wins the day, just like everything in life. In terms of the complicated world out there, the data set that we have compiled at Troutwood, because I think it is important for individuals to make data-driven decisions as opposed to strong opinions, fingers crossed behind my back type decisions. It's all BLS HUD data. Our tools allow individuals to make choices about careers, areas they want to live, goals they want to pursue in a way that's never been developed before. So while behind the scenes we have millions of data points with infinite combinations, and roughly 60 seconds, individuals can get a working institutional quality financial plan. So that's kind of the magic behind the scenes. It's everything you imagine it. Bing, 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 millions of data points compiling to Henry. Here's the path for you. But the really cool thing, like everything in life, it's up to you to take the steps down that path.
Amazing. Well, wow. Thank you, Professor Natali, for joining us for this brief interview. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again.
David, Henry, thank you. Anytime.
We're back. We're back from the interview. So yeah, what did you think of him?
Well, I mean, as you said, he's just the nicest guy in the world. And I was worried. I don't remember what it was now exactly, but there were a few times where I think I was a little bit worried that he thought that we had something to do with finance. And then when I started talking, it was very clear that that was not the case. But again, really good about being sort of adaptable to that. And it's, he can talk to people on all levels, and really did, make things very clear for me. And just, again, very interesting life. And I have nothing but good things to say about him.
Yeah, one of the key things that came from both the interview and his class was the emphasis on investment, kind of like just personal investment for retirement, like saving money and not spending everything. And then, yeah, knowing what you're investing in, he talked about a little bit with his company. That's like a fintech sort of startup that's bound to be very helpful to people. But yeah, I think that also goes back to how good he is as a teacher, because I mean, I don't think he views his students as investments. Like, that's not what he's talking about. I think he's thinking more like, it's good if they know this, because then it's like an investment in a better version of the future than not doing this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think investment is such a good word to use there, because it, investment in multiple ways, like, in the stocks or whatever it is that people do. But also,
you got it.
Yeah, I know things.
Finance award number one. Good job.
So yeah, I mean, like there's investment in the market, but also, the sort of, I don't know how to explain it, like, investing, like you said, in a better future, investing in other people, and also, he talked a lot about commitment, I think, as well, in both in jobs that you're doing, or just general pursuits, like really staying committed to this one thing rather than sort of jumping from thing to thing when things get hard. And so again, not only investing financially, but with your time into something larger than yourself, perhaps.
Mhm. So yeah, what was one financial thing that you remember learning from this,
Oh man. Oh,
if
that's
anything?
interesting. Yeah, I gotta think. Because I mean, we talk so much about just his life in general.
That's true.
Um,
It was very much a life lessons podcast as much as
Indeed,
it was a finance podcast,
that's true.
which we're both. Our podcast is both of those, right? It's
Oh,
like
I mean,
a
obviously,
perfect melding all the
yeah.
time of finance and life
When
lessons.
when people talk about Boonch Boys, they say finance life lessons.
Man,
That's
I can't realize, I can't understand how even the lessons were that I learned from finance and life from the Boonch
yeah.
Boys. They're
What a
so
balance.
it's so even.
No, okay, but I think this was after, because he and us, we all talked a little bit after we ended
Yeah,
the
we
recording.
went to the pub. We
Yeah,
had
yeah. No, but he one of the things he was talking about, because he was showing us a little bit about his the app that he and his company are developing, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn here, and I'm not revealing anything about his app, but one of the things that I do remember that he said was about Robinhood,
Mhm.
and that app, that it was making a lot of money off of people losing a lot of money. And that was
Mhm.
the thing where I was like, oh, maybe I should get Robinhood. And then I heard him say this, and I was like, oh, maybe not. So again, not that I, shouldn't do my own research and figure things out, but that was certainly something that I remember hearing, and um, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, one of the, so investments is an important thing to have context about. Not buying stocks at any time and for any duration is investment, right? Like
Right.
if you buy Tesla and then you sell it a second later, like you haven't invested in Tesla. I mean, you technically did for a little bit, but the main the main subtext of investment is like long-term sort of planning for the future and future growth sort of idea. And the problem with gamifying trading stocks and trading all these things is that it it doesn't encourage the low slow burn type stuff. They're trying to incentivize you making a lot of money very quickly, which is
Right.
very not likely.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's like one of the hardest parts I think about personal finance, is that it's like one of the most unsexy topics you could talk about, because it's like a
Yeah.
lot of it is like, do these four very boring things that's not really fun and you'll be good in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like you'll be very happy you did it in 30 years. Like
Right.
it's hard for people our age to sort of grasp that. And so you need a genial, sort of young,
Nice.
non-crusty.
Gene
Yes.
Eel.
Oh
You
my
understand.
God.
Nice.
Give us an award.
Yeah.
We get nominated for an Emmy for
Pulitzer.
that.
Um,
Pulitzer.
just for the word genial. No, but I mean, I mean, back to the life lesson side of this, patience, is a big thing, that, that idea of delayed gratification. I don't think it's only people our age who, don't understand that. I think it's definitely older people as well, that it's, planning decades in the future is really hard to think about. Um, and so you're right, it's not sexy, but um, it's certainly important. And that was, I think he also did a really good job sort of not overstating that, and not saying like, everything in the world is about money. He was very, clear that it was
Yeah.
not that. But saying that like
That would have
this
been a
is
very, very weird podcast.
yeah.
We would not have known what to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, but again, I think he did a really good job, showing like this is really important, uh and while it might not seem as interesting or exciting right now, again, it's going to be important in the future.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of what I've been thinking about as I have like tiny little experiences that are happening to me more and more, where I realize my parents were right about some things. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
you object to so many things, and then after you actually have to experience it or something bad happens, or you just are in a different situation, you realize that they're right. It's like it's very odd, because then you have a newfound respect, but then you're also like, man, what could I have done if I had actually accepted this advice early? I mean, usually it's not that drastic, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting to have that perspective, and it just sucks, I feel like, to be the parent in those situations where your kid is not listening. And I again, going back to like teaching very unsexy things, it's kind of like that, where it's like, if they don't understand it or take it to heart, it could hurt them, and it's like hard to see that happen sometimes. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Gene has to really go through that because the students leave, but like as a parent or something like
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about parenting.
Yeah, let's just guess so much about what it's like to be a parent. I had a dream the other day that I adopted a cat and a baby, so I'm qualified.
That sounds like a fun episode.
It was terrifying. I really did not enjoy that dream. Anyway, we're talking about
Bye.
yeah. Sorry.
Just silence the rest.
So
silence the rest of the episode.
No, but I think that's interesting. But I think one of the things, well, it depends. I was going to say one of the things maybe worse than having your kid not listen. This is something I've heard my parents say to other parents sometimes when they talk about raising us, me and my brother, not you and me, and Gene.
And you're both in a dark room with a glass on the door.
Right. Does that work? And it doesn't matter.
We'll do an experiment. We'll see.
Yeah.
We have literally forever to make an episode about
We'll ask Gene.
Yeah. We'll have him back on right now.
For that one question. Anyway, but they'll talk about, trying to instill in us some sort of knowledge or life lesson, and us being like, you don't know what you're talking about. Are you okay? You're connected.
Sorry about that. Hold on, let me.
No, right.
I want to make sure that you can like hear me.
I can absolutely hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah, well,
all right, keep going.
And so they'll be like, we were trying to teach him this thing, and then he'd be like, no, I'm good. And then like a few weeks or months or whatever, even years later, I would come back and be like, man, David had this great idea. And it would be exactly that same thing that they had been trying to teach me. And they were like, son of a bitch, like this guy, I told you this already, And so maybe that is like a nice thing in the sense that like, oh, at least he's learning it, But also I feel like it's sort of an insult to the parents to be like, no, the way you said it is stupid. Let me tell you what this other person my age said. So it's parenting. What are you
He's
gonna do?
Wise, Mom.
Yeah.
He has experience under his belt. His bad his horrible belt. David has a bad belt. Bye.
Should be the title for our interview with Gene.
Yeah, no reference to him.
David has a horrible belt.
That's how no one listens to it. He's like, I'll let you release this podcast as long as you hide it.
Right, as long as no one knows I'm involved here.
Yeah, Henry and David talk about belts.
But no, again, nothing but gratitude toward Gina. Like I really do appreciate. I was talking to my family about this interview. I was like, he really tolerated us. Like he was so nice in just answering our questions. It was just really kind. And also, like, on Monday morning, I was like, you got stuff to do. You got like a family and a job. I'm just sitting here. So very nice.
Look how empty my wall is.
Yeah. Look at this white wall.
What do you think I have going on?
This represents my schedule.
Yeah. This is my calendar.
Completely blank.
It's huge and it's way too much for what my weights. I write really tiny. I made a mistake.
I got a horrible bed.
But yes, yeah. So it was great having him on.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll see with the next one. The next one we have coming up is another banger, if you will.
Doozy.
It's going to be us and Henry's new baby and cat. It's
yeah. Get ready for that. His name is George.
Henry's going to be all tell you which one is out. He's going to be whisking something at all times, answering a phone with frazzled hair.
I'm just gonna have like a cat on my head, and like feeding a baby. Anyway, it's gonna be it's gonna be a doozy.
All right. Well, yes. Again, hopefully everyone enjoyed, and we'll see you in.
Tell us what you learned.
First time on the track, but I push you back, I spit. First time on the track, but I push